Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to your science online class. Hope you all are fit and fine. So, today we will study science chapter number 5, solids, liquids, and gases. So, students, these three solids, liquids, and gases are the states of matter. Now, you must be thinking, what is matter? So, we will learn in this chapter. But be sure that you understand this chapter nicely, as this is one of the basic and important chapter of science. So let's begin. Chapter number 5, solids, liquids and gases. States of matter. There are many different kinds of things around us. Things take up space and have weight. Any substance that has weight and occupies space is called matter. So students, starting of this chapter tells us that we have different things around us. For example, you can see around you different kinds of things. For example, chair, table, windows, doors, etc. And all these things occupies some space. You can see them, they are occupying some space and they have some weight as well. And students, all such things or all such substances which has weight and occupies some space is called matter. And you can see different examples of matter in this picture over here. Glasses, butterfly, computer, coffee, desk, chair, cat, person, sun, cloud, plants. Everything or every substance which has some mass or weight and which occupies some space is called matter. So two basic properties of matter is that it has weight and it occupies space. And matter exists in three states, or we can say in three forms, which is solid, liquids and gases. Now, how do we determine that whether a particular thing is solid, whether it is liquid or whether it is gas? Let's study further to know about this. All matter or substances is made up of small particles. The arrangement of these particles determines the state of matter. So students, all the things or substances which exist are made up of small or tiny particles. Small particles are there in everything or substances. Just like human body have small cells, human body is made up of cells. Similarly, every kind of thing, non-living thing, is made up of small particles which we call molecules in the language of science. And how these molecules are arranged in a particular thing determines its state. Getting my point? The arrangement of the tiny particles or molecules in a substance or in a thing determines its state, whether it is solid, liquid or gas. Now let's move further and study about our first state of matter, that is solids. What are solids? Solids are substances in which the particles are packed very close to each other. So solid are those substances, those things in which particles, tiny particles or molecules are packed very close to each other. You can have a look at this picture which has emerged on your screen just now. First states of matter, first one is solid. You can see in the solid, the particles or molecules are so close to each other as compared to liquid and gas. And what are the other properties of solids? Let's study the second para. Solids are usually hard and have a fixed shape. So first quality of solids is that these molecules or tiny particles are very close to each other. Second is solids are very rigid or hard and they have a fixed shape, which means that they do not take the shape of any other thing. For example, you can have a look at this lemon, which is first placed in a bowl, then in a glass and then in a jar, and in all the different vessels its shape will remain the same. It will occupy the same space and its shape will remain same, because lemon is an example of solids. Now let's have a look at other examples. Other examples of solid include pencil, book, chair, marbles, etc. Now let's have a look at the last para. Some solids such as gold change their shape, be bent or broken when force is applied. So students, those solids have a definite shape, have a fixed shape, but some solids such as gold and iron can be made to change their shape. They can be beaten or melted to give another shape. Now let's move towards our second state of matter, which is liquids. Now what are liquids? Liquids are substances in which the particles are not very closely packed. So unlike solids, liquids are those substances in which the molecules or tiny particles are not very closely packed. They are at a distance from each other. As you can see in this picture, second one is liquid. Here the molecules or the tiny particles are not so closely packed as compared to solids. Now let's study the other properties of liquids. Liquids have no fixed shape and can flow. They can take the shape of the container they are poured into, for example, water, milk, and juices. So another property of liquid is that they do not have any fixed or definite shape, and they can take the shape of any container in which they are poured, unlike solids. Just have a look at this picture. In this picture, lemonade is there in a jug, and when this lemonade is poured in three vessels which have different shapes, every time lemonade takes the shape of the vessel in which it is poured, and this clearly shows that liquids do not have any fixed shape and they take the shape of the container in which they are placed. Now let's study further. Examples of liquid include water, milk, juices, etc. Liquids can flow from one place to another, therefore these are also known as fluids. So students, I hope you are understanding the states of matter, solids and liquids. You must have understood what is the difference between these two and what are the properties of these two states. Now let's move towards our third state of matter, which is gases. Now what are gases? Gases are substances in which the particles are very loosely packed. So gases are those substances in which the molecules or tiny particles are very loosely packed. They are at a very far distance from each other. Just have a look in this picture. Third one is gas. You can see the tiny particles or molecules are so far away from each other. Let's study further. Carbon dioxide and oxygen are common gases. So most common examples of gases are carbon dioxide and oxygen. You must have heard about these two gases. Oxygen is which keeps us alive. We inhale oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. Gases such as LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, are used for cooking in homes. Which gas is used in cooking or in cylinders which we use for cooking at our homes? It is LPG or liquefied petroleum gas. CNG, compressed natural gas, is a gas used to make the vehicles run. Now gases also have no fixed shape. Unlike liquids, they occupy all the available space in a container. So gases also do not have any fixed shape and they occupy all the available space of a container or anything in which it is placed. So gases are the third state of matter in which the molecules are the most loosely packed. I hope you must have understood all the three states of matter and their properties. Now move further towards our next topic, which is change of states of matter. This topic says, students, that the states of different matter or different substances or different things can be changed from one form to another. For example, we can change solid into liquid and liquid into gas. So this is the change in the state of different matters. Now let's study a few processes which took place during this change of states of matter. First process is melting. What happens in melting? In melting, a solid changes into liquid. When we apply heat to any solid substance, it changes into liquid form. So for example, ice cubes, you must have seen ice cubes. When we apply heat or when we put them in sunlight or out of refrigerator, they start changing their form from solid to liquid. They start becoming water. And this process in which a solid substance changes its form into liquid state, when heat is applied or heat is provided to that, it is known as melting. Let's move further and know our next process. Next process comes boiling. So students, what happens in boiling? In boiling, when we heat any liquid substance or anything which is in liquid form, we will see that after some time it will have bubbles on its surface. For example, when we heat water, after some time we will see that the water will have bubbles in it, and that bubbles means that it water has started boiling. So this process in which when a liquid is heated, it will emit or it will give out bubbles after some time, is known as boiling. Next comes evaporation. So students, when we heat any liquid substance for some time, it will give out bubbles, and this process is known as boiling. And if we continue this process of boiling for a longer time, we will see that the liquid will change into gas. For example, water, you must have seen boiling water, but when it continues to boil for a longer duration, you can see the steam or vapor coming out from that, and it shows that the liquid has changed into gaseous form. And this process of changing a substance from liquid form to gaseous form is known as evaporation. Next comes the process of condensation. Condensation is just opposite of evaporation. In evaporation, a substance changes its form from liquid to gas, whereas in condensation, a gas changes into liquid form. A substance from a gaseous form changes into liquid form when it is cooled. And the best example of condensation you can see on a chilled glass of water or on a chilled bottle of water. Small droplets of water can be seen outside the glass or bottle, which shows condensation. Next come freezing. Freezing is just opposite of melting. In melting, when a solid substance is provided with heat, it changes its form into liquid, whereas in freezing, when a liquid is cooled, it changes its form into solid state. For example, you must have seen ice cubes. When we put water in ice tray and place that ice tray into our freezers, into our refrigerators for sometimes, we can see that that liquid or that water changes into ice cubes, which shows the process of freezing. So students, these were the few processes which took place while a matter or a substance changes its states from one form to another. Now let's move forward toward the last topic of our chapter, which is solute, solvent and solution. So students, this topic tells us that there are various solids which completely dissolves in liquid. For example, you can take an example of salt. When we put some salt in a glass of water and mix it well, after some time we will see that the salt completely get dissolves in water. This shows that salt is an example of such solids which can easily mix or completely dissolve in liquid. Now what are solute, solvent and solution? In this example of salt and water, salt is dissolving in water, so it is solute. Or in other words, we can say that the solid which gets dissolved in water or in liquid is known as solute, and the liquid in which the solid gets dissolved is known as solvent, and the liquid which we get when a solute dissolves or mixes in a solvent is called a solution. So by an equation we can see that solute plus solvent is equals to solution. So students, this was all in this chapter. Hope you must have comprehend everything nicely. We'll meet you in the next video. Till then, take care, be safe and keep learning.